Welcome in everybody to this episode of Victor Sports Coach's Report, a part of Legacy Maker and Victor Sports Talk. Today we got a special guest, Coach Burnam of Coahama ISD. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're getting a little thunderstorms in San Antonio, so I wish we get a little bit more. It's just humid right now.
I
Ain't
hear
really worth it. How things have been Coahoma doing?
you. Well, things are going pretty good at Coahoma. We're still right in the smack in the middle of summertime here. It's the furthest south that I've ever lived, and it's still pretty warm. But things are going great. We've got two football games left. If we do well in those, then we've got a shot at making it out to the playoffs also.
Awesome, and I can't wait to get into that. But we talked last week when we should have had the interview, but illness struck our family here in San Antonio. And you had mentioned that you were taking the kids to Fields of Faith to go see Ray Lewis. I just want to know, Coach Burnham, someone being in the industry that long and know what it means to motivate kids, not just an athletic standpoint, but at times in a spiritual standpoint. What was your biggest takeaway from that?
My biggest takeaway, I guess, from it was, he stepped up there and he basically told his life story. And the thing that hit me the most was that, don't try to be a success, try to be value.
Mm-hmm.
Try to make yourself a person of value. And that's probably something I'm going to carry with me a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's Ray Lewis. I mean, we all have heard the motivational speeches before the games, but I imagine how intimate and how pretty awesome of an experience it was to see a different side of him.
Oh, it was really good, and he had a good message for the kids. The first thing he told them was put your cell phones down, and be present in the moment, be present in class, be present everywhere in the moment. It doesn't take the cell phone to do that. And, I know that the kids get tired of hearing us coaches say that all the time, but for him to come out of the blue with that for them, I'm hoping it'll have some effect on them.
Absolutely. Sometimes I tell my wife, sometimes it just takes hearing it from somebody else. Like sometimes I can tell my daughter some, but she just got to hear it from her mom. Like sometimes it's those little things that help resonate with people. But as a coach, when you take students on these events, kind of how does it feel whenever you can actually see some of them, like it hits them differently? It's not just superficial, like it really does mean something to them.
It's really good when you start to see the young men and ladies that we coach, and you start to see them grow up. And we try to tell them all the time to you've got to find some kind of faith, because you have to count on something else bigger than yourself if you want to be a success.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it alone. You can't go it alone. You've got to find something bigger, and what we teach in athletics, I think, really helps them understand that it's not just all about the individual. It takes all of us together.
Absolutely, Coach. Now, kind of getting into things, Coach Burnham, were you always destined to be a coach, or do you ever think about something else before you got into this?
Well, my dad was an ag teacher. My mother was an English teacher. And, growing up, I thought, well, I'll probably, I'll wind up being a teacher like they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like the, having the summer, so we go on vacation together, and then when I got to college, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
So I went 4 years of pre-vet and was accepted to vet school, and finally was true to myself and said, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I was meant to do. I think I was meant to be a school teacher. And, that got me into teaching science. And I taught my first 2 years without coaching, which helped me because then my classroom was aligned and ready to go. And I taught at White Deer, Texas. The only thing I coached was track. And I was fortunate enough my first year there to work with Zach Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
The shot put. Yes, that's how old I am. Zach Thomas was a freshman in high school then and all-state linebacker. And after 2 years there, then I contacted a guy named Jimmy Don Mitchell that owned Buck Sporting Goods in Amarillo, and I'd known him basically all my life. And I told him, Jimmy Don, you see enough schools, help me get a coaching job. took till noon to have me an interview at Freona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I went to Freona to coach, and I was the assistant basketball coach just by default.
Mhm.
And then I coached the offensive line. And I always figured I would be a head football coach and an athletic director someday. But it's funny how things turn. And I wound up, falling into the basketball job to several places that I went. And my wife looked at me and said, "You just need to be a basketball coach." But even at Coahama here, I still get to coach the offensive line
Mhm.
in football. So
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that I like to play what's in season.
Oh, absolutely. That's kind of whenever I had the realization with my wife, I was like, I kind of like what's in season. So
Yes.
being able to do multiple different things helps. Um, you know, getting thrown into the basketball, you've had a lot of success as a basketball coach. Kind of, is that just learning from different clinics that you go to? Is that using your resources? Kind of what's got you to that level where you're confident in your ability to lead basketball programs to where you've led them?
Well, mainly the first coach that I worked for, his name was Ted Thomas. He played at Morton back in the '70s when they were going to a state tournament, and
Mhm.
he knew a lot of basketball. And he also told me I was just 2 years out of college, and he said there's a whole lot more to being a head coach than just knowing basketball. And he was right. You have to be able to deal with the kids, you have to be able to deal with the parents, you have to be able to deal with the community. And so I was an assistant for 14 years before I ever took a head coaching position. And that helped me, I think, to be more well-rounded and learn how to deal with situations, because there's so much to it that's not basketball, and especially in today's world, there's so much to it that you've got to be a dad to half your kids, and
Mhm.
you've got to try to be the make the right kind of impression on them. So
I find it very interesting that it took you 14 years because, kind of in today's society, people don't want to wait more than 3 years. I
right.
mean, there's some people 2 years in, they think they got it figured out. Have you ran across that where you gotta tell the young bucks, hey, the pecking order to say, like you gotta wait your turn.
Yes, I've seen several young guys like that, and my first day to show up to Freona to get ready to coach, I knew the laundry room really well. So
Yeah.
yeah, rookie, go take care of the laundry, and then we'll talk a little bit about football. And it gets to basketball season. Rookie, go take care of the laundry, and we'll talk a little bit about basketball. And there is a hierarchy to it, and there's a
Mhm.
lot to be learned from doing that stuff that nobody sees. And
Mhm.
you know, sometimes nowadays, because of the shortage of coaches and stuff, kids come straight out of college and they get vaulted into that high position of head coach, and they don't realize all that stuff that's done behind the scenes when nobody else is there. And
Absolutely.
I was an assistant long enough to learn the ins and outs of it before I started. I don't have any regrets about waiting that long to start being a head coach at all.
14 years. Um, did you still feel like you're ready for that head coaching job, or did it still feel a little shaky going in?
I was a little shaky to start with. I was at Freona for 2 years, and then my defensive coordinator that coached me in high school became the head coach at Groover, and he called me to come coach his defense.
Mhm.
So I went back to Groover, and for 8 years, I worked for him as his defensive coordinator, and I was the assistant basketball coach. And uh, I guess, yeah, the 8th year I was there is the year that Groover went to the state tournament in basketball. We lost in the first round, but that was still a great experience. And then the coach left. He
Mm.
resigned maybe a week after we got back, and
Oh, wow.
they weren't having a whole lot of luck getting people to apply. So the superintendent came and asked me, and that was my first attempt at the head coaching.
You still feel like you wish you would have known now what you knew. You wish you would have known then what you know now, kind of going
Oh,
into the first year.
definitely. And I can tell you, at being an assistant, I was an assistant under uh, three different head coaches before I became a head coach. So I already had a folder and kind of a system that I wanted to use. And that made a big difference. The first day I stepped out there, I knew what drills we were going to do. I knew what offense we were going to run. I knew what defense we were going to run, because was what was taught to me by the head coaches that I'd worked for. And I'm one of those guys, I don't think I've made anything up on my own, but I've stolen from every good coach I've ever worked for, football or basketball.
As long as you can admit it, I mean, you got to learn from people. That's how I feel. One thing I'm very curious about, how you said you already knew the drills, you already knew kind of what offense you're going to run, how you were going to run things. At any point, did you feel in seasons that you had to alter because maybe your players weren't picking up quite what you were trying to do, and you had to adjust to what best suited your players?
Yes, and that's the hard thing, because by the time you become a head coach, you kind of think you've figured out what you want to do, and then sure enough, you come across a group of kids that don't fit that mold, so you have to remake the mold and figure out what the kids do best, and say, okay, well, I've grown now. I figured that I can do it this way too.
Yeah, I've talked to a few coaches, and sometimes that's kind of what a lot of them put as ego. Like, a lot of times it's hard for coaches to kind of take that step back and be like, hey, obviously my vision isn't working. Let's figure something out. Is that something that came easy to you? You're like, okay, it's not working, or is this something that you kind of had to take a step back, and maybe your dad had to tell you, hey, it ain't working, son? Or kind of, how was that first time ever having to really take a step back and see how to fix it?
Yeah, I did have times that I had to take a step back, especially when I first started. But I'd gotten so much stuff, good stuff from the coaches that I'd worked for, and even when they found something that wasn't going great, then they stepped back too. So I'd already had the example. I was really fortunate with the coaches, well, all the coaches that I've worked with in my entire career. I think I'm really lucky to be around the people that I have. But yeah, there were times that I look and go, we're not capable of running that defense. We're going to have to step back, even though it's not what I like. We're going to step back and do what we can do to win ball games, and then bring the others in.
Absolutely. One thing I am curious. So, going into coaching, you have all these different ideas you want to do, kind of the road that we've been talking about. But when you see your team play a game and you're like, oh, we got to work on this, we got to work on that, we got to do this. How do you go about structuring practice after a game that, let's just say, it's not the best? It's completely the opposite of what you would hope for. Kind of, how do you evaluate what we spend time on?
Well, that's the thing, and I may be different than a lot of coaches, but I'll even look at my assistant that I have, and tell him on the back of the stat sheet there, write down such and such drill. We're not rebounding, so we need to incorporate more time and more different drills rebounding in a game, or we're not making good passes, so we're going to put a little pressure on ourselves in practice and make us make a better pass.
So this is something that you're kind of taking notes during the game, like
Yes,
as you're filtering. Oh wow,
I've had my wife ask me, "Why are you answering text?" And I go, "I'm not. I'm putting it on my notes." Because I'm not good enough to remember all of that stuff. But I know when I'm frustrated, that's the time to write it down.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because I mean, you get them coaches like, I'm not gonna let it bother me right now, we'll figure it out later. But later, you don't really remember that much.
No, that's exactly right.
You don't remember exactly what was important then and may not be important later, but it is important. You're just kind of focused up on the emotion of later.
Right.
Coach, you coached some great teams. You've had long stints at the places you've been at. Leadership. It's one of the ones that some people think, oh, you can't create a leader, you can't make a leader. They either got it or they don't. Or some feel like they can help inspire somebody to become a leader. Kind of across your career so far, how have you kind of gone about the leadership?
Well, the number one thing I've done is try to model it with the kids. And if I've had a kid that I thought could be a good leader, then, I met with them and counseled them a long time over it, and I told them, I said, a leader doesn't necessarily jump on their teammates, but a leader gets out there and does it first. And then when somebody else fails at it, he pats them on the back and says, come on, let's go. I prefer to do more of that in a positive manner than any as far as leaders go. Now, I am kind of vocal on the sidelines, if you've ever seen one of our games, but they know going into the game too that I'm not bad, but I'm loud, and I'm going to be loud all the time, And so the kids really, if the kids know that you're being loud for them and not at them, then they're fine.
It's kind of like the Alabama football player. He's like, it's not how Nick Saban says it; it's what he says.
That's right. You got to hear what he's saying underneath. That's right.
Coach, somebody who we had on the podcast, Coach Reese, talked about how you kind of helped push him to coach girls. Kind of walk me kind of through that, because I adore Coach Reese. He's kind of helped me along this journey, and I conversate with him pretty frequently. And I'm very interested, like, kind of when your assistant tells you, hey, I'm thinking about coaching girls, how does that feel as the head coach? Like, whoa, girls, I was expecting, hey, what do I need to do to be a head boys coach? But kind of what was that like?
Well, Reese, he's one of the best assistants that I've ever had, because he's full of energy, and he has a knack of finding a way to get along with the kids while getting them to do what he wants them to do. And when he talked to me about taking a position as a head girls basketball coach, I told him, I said, just go for it. You've got everything. You've got everything you need. His personality lends himself to get kids to play hard. And I think he does a great job. And I don't know if it's any influence I had. I'd like to think that it was, but he's got a lot in himself that makes him a really good person.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he made sure in the interview give you a shout out. He's all like, yeah, he's the one that kind of pushed me in that way. And I was like, I'm very intrigued by that, because I
walked around for a week after that with my chest stuck out, thinking, okay, I've got this young guy and he's moved up now. That's, to me, that's true success.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, like when you've been able to kind of put an assistant in a line to take that next head coach and take that spot, like as a coach, as a head coach, yeah, you hate to lose an assistant, but they're moving on, kind of like, what are the feelings and emotions behind that? Because you're losing a part of you, but at the same time,
part of it's worry is can I replace him? And then I get to thinking, well, I tell the kids all the time, it's not about me, it's about us, and when you do that, we know it's going to work out, and it really makes me happy to see, somebody move up the chain. Coaches move, and coaches get a chance to advance themselves, and he's one of them that has done really well with it. And I appreciate the time that we had together. The sad thing is you can't ever go back.
Yes.
He's been a head coach long enough now that we could never go back and him come back and be an assistant for me.
Yes, sir.
We have to be friends from here on out.
Yeah, have to be through text on the sideline, I guess.
That's exactly right.
Coach, going to Coahama, kind of what challenges laid ahead if you going that way and going the further south, how you said you've been?
Yeah, the athletic director here in Coahoma, you're talking about Coahama, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The athletic director here in Coahama, I guess, went all the way through kindergarten through 12th grade with a good coaching friend of mine named Russell Best. And I coached with him at SNS down between Gainesville and Sherman, and at a country school there. And, I wasn't looking to leave Tahoka, and I was at the state tournament, which is my yearly pilgrimage. And I see Russell every year, and we'd sit up there and visit and laugh, and have fun. And Russell just told me, he said, I've got a good friend that I grew up with that's an athletic director, and he's looking for a basketball coach. And I said, man, I don't know if I'm ready to move. I like it where I'm at. And he said, you need to call him and just go look. And at the time I had forgotten, anything about Coahoma. But my first year at Tahoka, we played a playoff game there against Stanford.
Yeah.
And won. And so I called them and they said, yeah, come down for an interview. And they're walking around campus and stuff, visiting with the superintendent and Chris Joslin. And we walked in the gym and, I had a good feeling the second I walked in, to talk to them. And we walked around campus and when we went in the gym, I looked at them and said, I'm undefeated in here. And they said, oh, that's right. That's right. You had a playoff game here. So, but I wasn't looking to move, but it's been a good move. It really has. Chris Joslin he's a good coach. He's a fine man. He portrays to the kids exactly what I do. That what we're doing is a game, but the way we approach it is that it's going to prepare us for life and prepare us to, to survive and get through and be successful in anything that happens.
Mm-hmm. Not only are you undefeated in there, Coach, I don't know, is it there where you got your 250th win? Or did you get that somewhere else?
What? Oh, okay. My wife cued me over there. She said we were at Ballinger. I have no idea.
I got to say congratulations on that. I have to say congratulations on that. That's huge. I mean,
very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Did they get you a little plaque or something?
Yes, I do have a plaque, and the kids got together and got me a basketball that's painted 250th win and the scores of the games, the last games and all their initials on it and stuff. And it's really pretty neat. It's something I've got sitting on a shelf in my living room right now.
Oh, are we gonna go all the way till 300? Or are we going till 350? We going till the wheels fall off?
Yeah, we'll go till the wheels fall off. Here's the funny thing is that I have twins that are in third grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 3 daughters that are grown, and I've got twins now in third grade. So I can't see myself retiring before they graduate for sure.
Oh yeah, Coach, I had asked Coach Reese, and he said that his daughter did play a kind of a role in him wanting to coach girls. Mm-hmm. Is this kind of something that you would like to do later on down the line with your twins, or?
Well, I have one boy, one girl.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes. So
hey, you're gonna get one of them.
Point where I'm gonna need to make some kind of decision. I know my son is going to be really easy to coach. I'm not sure my daughter is, so I could possibly slide over the other side of the gym.
Yeah, well, I know as far as my daughter in softball, she's easy. She listens. She works hard. My son, he's 3. He got it all figured out already. He watches MLB. He already knows how he's going to do things. Coach, just kind of, I want to talk about the family aspect of coaching. And, kind of what do you find important for the family side of it? Because, it's hard on everybody, the moves, because sometimes it could be 2 moves in 2 years. Sometimes it could be a move every 8th year. Sometimes it could be in between. Kind of what have you found that's kind of been helpful as a family to stay tight-knit throughout the processes?
The number one thing that we do is that we get totally immersed in the community that we're in, and we take our kids everywhere. On Wednesdays, sometimes they want to sleep through school because they've been out at a late ball game on Tuesday night, and down here at Coahoma, 82 miles is our closest district game.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of driving.
So they're out late on Tuesdays and before district starts, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of tournaments. But they go to all of that. My son is down on the sidelines with us in the varsity football games. And he loves all the boys, and the boys love him. And I try to get them just as involved in everything as I am, I will tell anybody that's going to get into coaching, they need to be sure that their spouse is ready for that too, because it's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week investment. And most women are better at it than men are, to be honest.
Coach, kind of you kind of get your football fix during the football season, be able to coach like the offensive linemen and stuff. Was there ever a shot that you may have gone the head football coaching route over the basketball route, or kind of once you got immersed into basketball, you kind of just focused on that?
I'm still not completely set.
Okay.
Because I love coaching football and basketball both so much. To me, I'm a little bit of a control freak as far as practice goes and what we're going to do in the game. And my wife even tells me it's easier with 5 kids than it is 11. In football, you've got to trust your assistant coaches like nobody's business. Because you can't coach everything yourself. It's impossible. So the basketball is it may be more hours total.
Oh, okay.
But you have control of those 5 kids.
Yeah.
And it helps when you've had assistants like I've had too, because everywhere I've been, I've had good assistants and they learn what I'm doing and I can turn them loose and they handle all of it. And when those kids grow up and get to me, then they're ready to go. So.
As the head basketball coach, do you have any say-so in who your assistant is, or is it kind of who's just assigned?
I do have a little bit now. When I first came here, I didn't. And at Tahoka, we didn't have enough, coaches on staff to really, decide on our own who we were going to have.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you being on. One thing, though, as we wind this down, we got a couple more things to touch on. I feel through life nowadays, it's hard to just take a step back and be thankful for the just things in life. I mean, everybody focuses on negative. Everybody focuses on not waiting their chance for a head coaching job and just not to be grounded. But I'm curious, Coach, what are 3 things you're thankful for right now?
My family, my Savior, and the great kids we have at Coahama.
I like it. That right there. I mean, if you have those 3, and that's you live and breathe it every day, then hey, you're living the good life.
And the good thing is, win, lose, or draw, I can come home and my wife is there to give me perspective on all of it. She says the good's never as good as you think, and the bad is definitely never as bad as you think.
Oh yeah, I've had them talks already coaching my daughter with my wife, who's going to be a therapist, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a long life.
Yes, that's right. As long as you stay positive, there's always hope. That's the number one thing.
Absolutely, Coach. And this is kind of where I just turn the mic over to you, Coach. Kind of whatever you want to say. Kind of if we didn't touch on something that you feel like you want coaches to know, this is your opportunity, Coach.
Okay. Well, I am thankful for the decision to get into this career that I've had. It's a good career for a person and for a married couple, and a good career for a family. If you want a chance to be together all the time, then coaching is a good way to do it. And if you want a little bit of time off in the summer, then coaching is a good way to do it. When I first started, you had the summer, because they had rules. You couldn't have more than 3 kids from the same town on the same summer league team.
Oh, wow.
Now you can have as many teams as you want. As long as you can find somebody to coach those teams. So it takes a lot more of our summer now, but it is a better investment in our kids. With society the way it is, they need our help, and and a lot of people don't want to admit it, but we coaches need them too. That's the number one thing. It's a 2-way street, and these kids keep me young. I know that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got 2 little ones, so you got to stay as young as you can, Coach. Yeah. Well, thank you, Coach, and good luck this season. I mean, hopefully you can get really close to 300 and start working your way past it.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. if and the point we're at right now at Coahama, if we do the best we can, then we're going to have a shot to really have some success with it. So.
Well, if we're still down in San Antonio and y'all come down, I might just have to go and catch a game during the state tournament.
That'd be a fun time. Sure would.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, you take care and good luck this season.
Thank you.